All right, our next question here is a great one. How do you do fast shots in succession without the bands getting tangled up? I feel like I also lose some of my ability to adapt my aiming because I get distracted trying to fix my bands and drop focus. Is there a trick, or is it based on the type of slingshot? All right, there's a lot of meat on the bone on this one. So shooting fast with slingshots is going to have there's going to be bands that they get tangled up. Now there are slingshots that are set up specifically for speed shooting, like pickle forks, shooting with tube protectors in shorter tubes. That does reset more quickly, but that is definitely a specific style of shooting. So if we're talking about flat band slingshots or slingshots that shoot longer tubular bands, the bands are just going to foul, get tangled up after shots. You're going to have to learn to work around that. So a couple of things you can do. When I'm speed shooting with flat bands, I like to make sure that my bands are dry. The easiest way to do this is to use talc of some sort, calcium carbonate. Climber's chalk works well. Don't use baby powder. That's got cornstarch in it. That'll get gummy if it's high humidity outside. But keeping your bands dry and keeping your fingers dry. The reason I say this is because I'll demonstrate here that after the shot, my bands, well, they're not quite tangled up here. But one thing you can do is when you're resetting the bands is start with your finger here. I always keep my ammo palmed in my hand and draw the band up until my finger hooks. Now I know that my bands are straight because I pulled from the slingshot fork all the way to the pouch. Now I'm ready to bring in another piece of ammo, manipulate it onto my next shot. If you're shooting tubular bands, you can get twists that you can't necessarily see. So most folks don't shoot longer tubular bands when speed shooting. Another thing to do is if you're shooting very thin latex, any latex that's thinner than say 0.7 millimeters thick, it will tend to tangle up quicker, and it's also a lot softer. So for speed shooting, you may want to consider using a thicker band material cut to a more narrow taper for your size of ammo. Now, you made the specific reference to the fact that when the bands get tangled up, it throws off your rhythm, it throws off your mindset to set you up for the next shot. That's just going to be something that you have to get over. Now, the quickest way to get over that is to find a system, a method, a repeatable system that you do every time. For me, again, is drawing the bands, drawing my finger up the bands. I learned this trick from blue skiing to reset the bands. Whatever you figure out works for you, just be consistent with it. If you want to use two fingers and draw it up, that helps as well. Now I'll demonstrate here. So let's say we have a severe twist. Now, of course, that's going to take a little bit longer and of course can distract you. One thing I like to do is I like to make sure that I'm comfortable with this so I can keep my eye on the target. So let's say this is the shot. I'm preparing for my next shot. I will keep my eye on the target as I draw my fingers up the bands to reload. As far as getting distracted, you're just going to have to learn to work with it. Try to take a deep breath. Maybe use the moment for resetting the bands to be your moment to reset your mind for the next shot. So after the shot, take a deep breath as you reset, then come to your anchor point and release. So there you have it. There's a couple of tips and tricks to get you shooting faster. Practice is what it takes. So take your time, be consistent with your practice, and if you start not having fun, stop, take a deep breath, and remember what you're doing this for. Thanks for the question.